Hello friends, and welcome to episode 4 of the Christmas special. In this episode, I'll show you how to make Vanochka, which is a bread from the Czech Republic. I'm sure they have this in Slovakia as well, because it used to be the same country, right? But we're not getting into that today, because I have a separate video for different Christmas bread from Slovakia. That will be in one of the upcoming episodes. For now, let's get on with this. And as always, you'll find a full recipe with all the details down in the description box. Now let's see what equipment we need. A tray with some non-stick paper, you need a bowl for mixing your dough in, scales, a dough scraper, a brush and a temperature probe, a sieve for dusting and a fine grater for the lemon zest. Now on to the ingredients. Some strong white bread flour, some milk, yeast, salt, sugar, some soft butter. We'll need some raisins, I'm using brown and golden. Then an egg yolk and 1 lemon worth of zest. You'll need an egg for brushing, some sliced almonds for sprinkling, and some icing sugar. Now my kitchen is around 25 degrees Celsius, so I want milk to be around 7, so cold from the fridge basically. Now grab your bowl, start making the dough. Add the milk, then the yeast. Continue on with the salt and the sugar. Then add the egg yolk and your lemon zest. We're not adding the butter at this point yet. That will come a little bit later. For now, give it a good mix. You want to dissolve any large sugar crystals and hydrate the yeast. Once you're happy with that, add the flour and continue mixing with your scraper. And if the scraper's not doing the job, continue on by hand. You want to mix the dough until it's one cohesive mass whilst it's still in the bowl, to avoid making a mess on the table. Now tip it out, start kneading. This is not very sticky at all, so we'll use a regular kneading method. Press down and forwards with the heel of my right hand, then using the fingers of my left hand, I fold the piece of dough under the heel of my right hand. Then I turn and repeat. Once you've done this a few times, that motion will become fluent. Continue kneading your dough like this for around 2 minutes. You want to develop the gluten a little bit before you add the butter. Now stretch the dough out, slap the butter right on top of it. There's no pretty way of doing this. Just mash it up, squeeze it, tear it in. It will be messy to begin with, but the butter will get absorbed into the dough soon enough. So squeeze it for around half a minute and then continue kneading, just the same way as you did before. Down and forwards with one hand and then fold with the other. And around 3 minutes later, the dough should be nice and smooth, all the butter should be absorbed. Now we can stretch it out one more time and add the raisins. That's the last ingredient for the dough. So just flatten it, pop the raisins on it, and roll it up. There's no right or wrong here. Press them in a little bit, roll it up, fold it up, whichever way you do it. At the end of the day, we will continue kneading this dough. So as you can see, this process does not take too long at all. First, we kneaded for 2 minutes, then we added the butter, we kneaded for another 3 minutes. Now we've added the raisins. We'll continue kneading for another minute or 2, and that'll be it. And once your dough is nice and smooth, shape it into a ball, and we can pop it in our bowl, take the temperature, and start fermenting. 25 to 26 degrees Celsius is just about right for this. Now we can cover it up and leave it to ferment for 45 minutes to 1 hour. Of course, if your dough is warmer, it will take less time. If it's cooler, it will take longer. Regardless, after the first proof, we need to give it a fold. Folding benefits the dough in a number of ways. It will degas it, create extra layers in gluten structure, and equalize the temperature. To perform a fold, place the dough smooth side down on your table, flatten it out, then fold the edge over the middle, going around in a circle until you reach the point where you started. Then flip it smooth side up again, tighten it against the table, pinch the bottom together, and back in the bowl it goes for the second proof. Once again, we'll cover it up. It'll take around 45 minutes to an hour. After the second proof, the dough should have puffed up a little bit more, and we can start dividing it. This dough is made up of 2 3-strand braids, one larger one on the bottom and a smaller one over the top. So we want to divide the dough in 6 pieces, 3 large ones, 3 small ones. And you'll find all the weights and details down in the description box. Now after dividing, we need to pre-shape. Flatten your dough out. Fold the sides toward each other, then fold the top down, turn it around, and fold the bottom over, then tighten it against the table. You want to end up with like a blunt cylinder, and continue on with the rest of the dough pieces. After pre-shaping, we need to let the gluten relax, so we'll cover them up and leave them to rest for 30 minutes. This will not only relax the gluten and make it easier for us to shape, it will also give the dough another chance to ferment. Now take these dough pieces one by one and roll them all out. You want them to be about the length of your forearm. Make sure you keep the small ones and large ones together. So once you roll them out, take the 3 smaller ones or the 3 larger ones, whichever ones you want to start with, and do a 3-strand braid. So connect them at one end and braid them together. But don't listen to my instructions, just follow my hands. And anyway, I'm pretty sure most of you know how to do a 3-strand braid, right? And once you finish one, do the other one. And then we'll use the larger one as a base. You can flatten it out a little bit. What I like to do now is grab a beaten egg and just brush the bottom loaf. This will act like a glue for sticking both the dough pieces together. You don't need a lot, just a thin coat, and that's it. Now take the smaller braid and lay it on top of the larger one. And you can tuck the ends under, so it really seals it up. And also make it look a lot neater. Now just make sure everything's nice and straight. Get your tray with some non-stick paper and pop it on it. This baby's ready for the final fermentation. And this is quite a simple version of the Vanochka. We're only making 2 3-strand braids. I've seen one where people do like 5 braid at the bottom and 3 braid on top. I don't even know how to braid 5 strands. So you know, all you beginners out there, this is for you. Right, now pick off any stray raisins, they'll only burn in the oven. Cover your dough up and leave it to ferment for an hour to an hour and a half. During that time, preheat your oven to 160 degrees Celsius with a fan on. Now that looks nice and puffed up. It's nice and soft. It's ready for the oven. Straighten out a bit if you need to. Pick off any more stray raisins. Couple more things we need to do before we bake. So grab the egg, brush it all over. Now if that's not a beautiful loaf of bread, I don't know what is. To give it an extra nice golden brown crust, we'll brush it once, let it dry for 5 minutes, and brush it one more time. And after all that brushing, sprinkle it with almonds. I think I went a little bit overboard with the almonds on this one. It kind of covered up the braids. So you know, it's up to you how many you add. Once you're done glazing and adding your almonds, pop it in the oven. It should take around 35 to 40 minutes. And that's your sweet Vanochka. It looks nice, right? You know what, this would make some perfect French toast if left over. You can brush it with some butter or some oil when it comes out of the oven, just to give it an extra sheen. Now I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Christmas series. Check out all the other videos in the playlist. I've made 12 different breads from 12 different countries. I'm sure you'll find something that you would like to make this Christmas. And consider subscribing if you haven't already. My channel is full of recipes. And even more importantly, I also teach bread baking principles. So if you are into your bread baking, my channel is definitely for you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.